Where's my dance instructor's card?
It's over there.
Oh my god.
Just a moment. There. Okay. Shall we?
Maestro, begin. Now, let me see your black sword. Pirouette. Seems like chair dancing.
I can't. Yeah, I'm unable to. I'm too virginal. Should we do the filter?
I'm such a white swan, I can't even dance. Yeah, do you have like feathers or see your ballet filter?
This one.
Oh, it's sparkly.
Oh, sparkly.
Like ghosts?
Oh no.
That's the one that crashes
Killed it.
Instagram.
It killed it.
Yeah. Let me tell the Twitchers.
Alright, no filters. We're not gonna use a filter.
That's fine. I'm just gonna...
We don't need
We'll
one.
fade out that introduction. Hello. Welcome to Question Block on Pointe. This week we're talking about the history of ballet.
Yeah.
I am the DJ, Dr. Wires, but this week I don't even know what's a good ballet instructor name. Dance instructor.
Danseur.
Juarez.
Monsieur Danseur.
Monsieur Danseur. And you are?
Aerialist?
You
Name says it all.
Yeah, I mean, you are a dancer, so...
I'm the whitest of swans.
Nice. So this is a topic very close to your heart, because you do a form, I suppose, of modern ballet.
Yeah.
But I just read some Wikipedia articles.
That say that it's not, that doesn't count.
Yeah, I read several Wikipedia articles that say aerialism, not...
Ariel.
Do you ever call it that, aerialism? Is that like in
Yeah.
the trade?
That's my religion, too.
Oh.
It's my religion.
Oh yeah, that was a different episode.
Yeah.
It's a good one, though. Yeah, so we're gonna talk about the history of ballet and our favorite contemporary ballets.
Yeah.
Of which I have seen none.
Yeah.
So you'll tell me about the contemporary ballets, and I'll tell you about the Wikipedia articles I read.
Awesome. Oh, that sounds great. And it's gonna be like funny and we're gonna contemporize the classics and classify the contemporaries.
Yeah, I will start off by classify the contemporaries. I was gonna start off by saying how I was amazed in my research how much intrigue and violence like underlies a lot of ballet. The actual people behind it and the like meaning of the stories in ballet is like, I almost feel like they had to be ballets because if you had made a play about some of these like themes or things, like people would have been very like sad.
They would have started a riot. Oh wait, that did happen. We'll talk about that.
Oh yeah, the ballet that caused a riot.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I guess we'll kick it off. I'll start talking about the history. Okay. I'll explain.
Okay. You'll explain.
I'll explain whence forth ballet did come, and then you'll pick up, because then, since I only read the Wikipedia articles, then you'll actually explain what the ballets are about and like the popular ones.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll talk about the guys, and I'll talk about the girls.
Okay.
And then we'll switch.
I mean, dance instructors historically, men, even through the 20th century.
And
These days, not as much, though.
But is a male ballerina called a baller?
Ooh, good question.
It's
It's a riddle.
But a lot of
ballet like to ask each other.
the dancers.
What are they? They're ballerins?
Ballerins.
Is that what they're called?
They're called. I think they're called ballerinas.
Oh, that's
They're called male
that's
ballerinas.
that's just like English refusing to adapt like the genre of like an Italian word.
Yeah.
All right,
I guess.
whatever.
But they were mostly men as well.
Yes.
In the beginning.
Well, in the beginning, they were nobles. Were the Grams? It'll reconnect probably.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, we'll say in the beginning, ballet was not performed by professionals at first. So the tradition of like what we think of as modern ballet was like kind of developed during the Renaissance, and then Catherine de Medici.
Yes.
Who was like Italian
Yes, queen.
Italian babe.
Witch.
She doesn't look what? She doesn't
She's
look
a witch.
She's a witch?
She was a witch.
Yeah, she was a witch.
She was, yeah.
Yeah. The paintings of her, this is like all paintings of like classical figures. You're like, I don't really see why this person was super hot at the time. And it's like, well, you had to be there. And
She was a witch.
The painters weren't that good.
She made you think that she was hot.
Okay. So she married Henry II. She was like the royal consort of France in like the middle of the 1500s.
She was a successful Marie Antoinette.
Okay,
basically.
Yeah. She pulled it
Like,
off.
yeah.
Came from Italy to France. And like there were lots of like intermarriages of like European royalty during this time. So France at this time, the like king, the royal court was like very weak though. So Catherine like came from Italy to France. Her like I think she was the consort for like 10 years and then finally got the ring and like got married.
That's the original Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Well, it's the Beyonce.
My precious.
You gotta put a ring on it. So yeah, she's married to the king, and a couple years later he dies, and like France has been like it was plagued by civil wars. They didn't have a strong central government, so there's all these like any nobleman who could get like a couple thousand people behind them would revolt and be like, I'm my own country now, and France would be like, God damn it.
A lot of baguette bitch slapping with baguettes.
Yeah, a lot of fencing, a lot of duels were had.
Yeah.
So Catherine had 2 young sons with the king, but they weren't old enough to rule. So she basically like was their advisor. So she effectively was like the woman behind the throne for like the latter half of the 1500s, 16th century in France. But as part of like trying to shore up the monarchy, because it was like they barely had a functioning country, so they like couldn't collect taxes. They had like shit public services. Sounds a lot like New York City.
Oh,
no.
They had the plague.
Someday the subway will go back. They probably did have some plague.
Yeah.
Anyway, so one of the things she did to try to secure power, though, was like kind of the whole like the Roman like circuses sort of thing, right? Like distract everybody, the peasants.
Like we're doing.
But yeah, exactly. To keep Cuomo in power. No, just kidding. What a greaseball. Anyway, like I was saying, the civil wars it wasn't a peasant uprising like you would think of, like all the peasants revolting. It was all these other competing noblemen who had like their own like, feudal like territory and land or whatever would be like, I want to be the king. I'm going to fucking like, take over.
Yeah.
So to keep them busy, you had to get them like doing something. So that's why she invented, became a patron of the arts. And so, like, portraiture got, like, very big. It was sort of like a late Renaissance in France. And then ballet did.
The ballet.
So the ballet.
The ballet.
The ballet de quoi?
Which is ballet of the court.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is what was known as it would be recognized, what was that, in, like, 1547.
Yeah.
So mid-1500s. The ballet de quoi was not danced by professional dancers, was danced by the noblemen.
Yeah.
And so they were like, let's have a party, but like everything you do is regimented by like these like this complicated footwork.
It's very like Illuminati, I feel like, because I feel like it was all like symbol, like you were just like throwing like gang signs with you were like sacred eye, but it's in dance. Like there are all these like rules and restrictions.
A cool like art festival too. Yeah. It's like they're like now a poem, and like now, but the poem is written on this very strict like structure for like the verse.
And if you look to the right, you'll be thrown out of the court and you'll die.
And you need a very expensive special costume, which costs a lot of money. And these things were all both distractions, but also like by giving some prestige to the noblemen without them having to actually overthrow the king, kept them busy.
It's like what's happening now. They're like, you need a mask, but it's no. You have to buy an expensive one.
This is now a conspiracy podcast. Actually, we're moving to InfoWars.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, so Catherine de Medici, like, sponsor of like all the arts, developed all the ballets, and that was like mid to late 1500s, and then it kind of like fell out of favor, and things like kind of went to shit in France, and like it's even remarked in the Wikipedia article I read that like French portraiture got worse. The paintings got crappier like over the like 30 years later. So yeah, I mean, that was a bummer. And then ballet doesn't really, it like stuck around. There were like courts throughout Europe or whatever, but that like kind of seeded the idea. And then it didn't really come into its own and become this dominant cultural force until about 100 years later.
A boy, King of the Sun.
A simple boy. A boy named Louis XIV.
Yeah. Louis XIV.
Yeah. Louis XIV, the Sun King.
He was the best Louis.
Who you may remember from our fashion episode. Mm-hmm. Because ballet very much went hand in hand with fashion. Once again, as a means to control the like noble class, not like the peasants. So we talked about how, right, we just said that like in the mid 1500s, like France, like lots of civil wars and stuff. And then like in the early 1600s, even worse. So Louis grew up, he was born in like 1639, I think, 37, thereabouts. Yeah. He grew up during what's called the Fronde. And the Fronde is not like a frond plant. The Fronde was it was like the name of like a slingshot that people would use to like break windows in the palace.
God, what an awful.
Yeah, so he like, there's stories of Louis XIV growing up and just like the peasants and like other noblemen and stuff, like just breaking into the palace, and they like apparently like got all the way to his bedroom and then he was asleep and they're like, oh, okay, all right, we won't burn the palace down.
Oh, he was so cute.
But like, yeah, chased through the streets and seeing his family humiliated, like while he was growing up, coming of age.
And he's like, I shall be like Billy Elliot. Yeah? I want to dance.
Well, it did shape him for the rest of his life.
Shaped Billy Elliot too.
It's true. Yes. Sort of like an old-timey Billy Elliot.
Was he?
XIV. He borrowed a lot from him, but in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Time traveled.
He did. He's nicked his style. But not river dance.
No.
More of a
calf dance.
Calf dance. About it.
Oh my God. I'm just imagining him showing off his calf wearing a caftan. He's like,
are those two words related? Could they? No. I guess
category is a calf dance.
Isn't a caftan a long garment?
It is, but it had like a slit, a sexy little slit.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, we watched some videos from the Royal Opera House of like how the style of how they would dance.
The Royal Opera Ballet.
Yeah.
Oldest ballet company in the world, which we'll get to in a little bit.
It was cool. They have a bunch of videos where they have like a lady in the costume of like the Renaissance and then just like throughout the ages of ballet, and she goes down the line and she's like, this is how you would dance. Like, can you show us this?
Show us your turnout.
Show your turnout
1750s.
Now lock it down a little bit, because that's. But they had these little like heels. They were just like little heels, and they kind of remind me of like the way foot binding shoes looked, but like regular size.
Okay.
They have that kind of like they're like little mini cowboy boots, but like mini. Yeah, they're very
sounds
cute.
Adorable.
Very cute little shoes, and they didn't dance on point. They just danced on the ball of their foot to sort of show off the heel of the shoe. So they were just kind of like, look at my heel, look at my calf, look at my heel, look at my calf.
Louis famously in his portraits, red shoes. The
original
Louboutin.
These is bloody shoes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were.
Yeah. Bloody shoes. Well, yes. I mean, it is rough.
The blood of France.
But,
of France.
Yeah. So Louis, there was a ballet performed. Like we said, it hadn't disappeared. There was a ballet performed to celebrate his birth, and as he became the king at age 4, was very into ballet. He had a dancing master who taught him everything he learned about ballet, named Beauchamp. But Louis, as part of his sort of coming out, he really like took power and like came into his own at age 14. Because as you said, as the Sun King, he got the nickname because he played Apollo in this like very famous traditional ballet, where like.
What was it called?
The ballet he was in. Do you have it?
The Ballet de la Nuit.
Oh, the Ballet of the Night.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a real surprise in there that he's the Sun King. You know, you think it's going to be about the night, but
Yeah.
wait a second. It's
What's-
actually about the sun.
Well, so that ballet, like a lot of the ballets at the time when he like got into it, and we'll talk about how this evolved, were like 13 hours long.
In real time.
They were
Just
real
like, what?
time. Yeah, it was an entire night of ballet.
They were like every hour represents it. Yeah, it was like a logarithmic representation of like the gods or something. Like they're like every hour represents 1,000 years of like Greek mythology.
They're like, yeah, from midnight to 3 a.m. will be the night terrors, and then from like 3 to 6 we're gonna have like
we'll have,
something, and then finally
Zeus.
like
Yeah.
Louis is gonna show up at 6 a.m. He's the Sun King. He's gonna banish the night terrors.
Yeah.
But there's like portraits of his like costume as Apollo, and it is resplendent. It was like all gold, huge headdress, and you're just like, okay. And like he was a tall dude with like a big like French
I can show
fro.
this. I have it actually. I could even insert it, but I'm afraid that our stream will die. So I'm going to show it if I can.
Show it to the people. Look at that. Look at that boy. Look at that 14-year-old.
That golden boy. Yeah, he looks kind of like a pineapple.
Yeah. So the Pineapple King.
The golden
King.
pineapple.
So he's 14. Anyway, he's just like super into ballet. And then like we kind of said in the fashion episode, and sort of like Catherine de Medici, he realized that like a great way to control the noblemen was to invent a bunch of very expensive pastimes that they would have to spend lots of money doing. So Louis, in his 20s, he moved the entire royal court to Versailles, which is 50 miles outside of Paris. If you wanted any power in the government, you had to become like...
It's like the Hamptons.
It's like
He's
the Hamptons.
like, all right, New York, we're going to the Hamptons, all of New York.
Yeah, imagine if the financial district was in the Hamptons.
Yeah. Whew.
Not just on the weekends.
Yeah, unlike the Hamptons just got way, way rapier. Wow.
Yeah. So
wow.
There was a lot of shenanigans going on in the shrubbery at Versailles, let me tell you. But he built this giant palace that can like house thousands of people. Yeah, the whole royal court has to live there. They have to pay rent. It's incredibly opulent. He kind of introduces and elevates the concept of fashion, and fashion changes every 6 months. So clothes are very expensive. Ballet too, though. They change the dance steps, also go in and out of style. But
then who
you can't just do the nae-nae
you got to do the whip. Now you got to do the whip.
Now I got to do the whip.
The dab.
Now I got to dab. Now I got to learn this other move.
Yeah.
But the dance stuff, they were complicated enough that you had to hire a dancing master to teach you the dances. Incredibly expensive to stay on top of the trends. But if you didn't, and there was stories of a young man bragging about his ability to dance, and then he goes to dance and he carries himself poorly and nearly falls over, and he's laughed out of court and just loses all political power, and it's
imagine that if the Supreme Court, they're like, now let me see you dance.
That'd be great.
They need to do that.
Sonia Sotomayor.
Okay, are you reading my mind right now?
Throws it down.
I was legit just going to say that. Because she's the one who you want to see dance. And then,
Yeah, she throws it down.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
Just
wops Louis the 14th, though, he also loved to eat. And he had a lot of butt problems because of this, and a lot of weight problems, and just kind of gross issue where you're ew. And so he was you know what? Dance isn't for noblemen anymore. It's actually going to be a theatrical art, because he was kind of embarrassed of his figure.
He retired at 31.
But yeah, because he was getting
at 31 he started getting a little large, so he famously retired.
But he was you know what? Actually,
I think around when he retired, he was let's just have professionals.
He was let's have no nobleman can do this
Well-
anymore. It's for dancers and
I think
theater.
I think he was just like, well, now that I'm not part of it, and I'm gonna just be watching it. Let's have people who are really good at it do it.
I think he was like, if I'm not gonna do it, then like someone that he didn't want to get envious of like his boys,
Oh, sure.
So
Maybe.
that's what I think. I feel like because if he was a performer, it wasn't because he wanted to watch something good. It's because he didn't want to be upstaged by his own men. He was like, I'll be upstaged by a real dance professional. That's fine.
Okay.
And so Beauchamp, I think it was Beauchamp who opened the Royal Dance Academy, right?
Pierre Beauchamp. Pierre Beauchamp.
Pierre Beauchamp.
So Pierre Beauchamp, who was like the royal dance master, right, taught Louis everything he knew, and then became like
in
the dance master of
1661
all of France.
He opened the dance
school.
academy.
Well,
And who codified those steps, those 5 positions?
By the way, keep in mind that Louis is like sending like all the royal courtiers have to like go to this dance school.
Yeah.
To like learn to
How
dance.
cool!
too.
How do we get by? How does that happen for us?
How do I go?
How do we?
We need to be a noble. If only we could be a
No,
French noble.
I mean, like, how do we get a king to like send noblemen to like secret loft?
Oh yeah, to learn to dance also.
No, to like watch our performances and stuff.
Oh, so
Gotta get on that. Any kings, call us.
Yeah, if any royalty is watching this,
Slide into our DMs, or send us some royal mail.
send us a carrier pigeon. Oh yeah, royal mail. That's how they communicate.
Yes.
You were saying so Beauchamp and Foilet, and so Beauchamp came up with a notation. But
Wait, does his name end with a T?
yes.
So it's like, just say A. Like ballet ends with T. It's like if you're trying to speak French, just
Voila.
say Foilet.
Foilet.
I think that's the rule.
Beauchamp and Foilet. Beauchamp
Yeah.
Foilet notation is what it's called, which is the modern way of annotating dance steps. But Beauchamp came up with it, but Foilet or whatever.
Or whatever.
He ended up publishing most of the dances. He ended up like doing most of the writing down in notation. So it's like not for a while, like 1700s or whatever. Then like all these dances. So we can still today perform the ballets that were performed at the time of Louis XIV.
But I think it's interesting that like ballet started in Italy, right? And it's all the language and the names and stuff. They're all in French because of this. Right?
Oh, of all the
of all the positions and the just like all the most of the ballet stuff it's like French.
Yes, because they made a
They wrote it
mainstream.
down.
They wrote it
You guys
down.
got to write it down. Come on, Italians, get those pens out.
Yeah. So another. So there's like 3 main figures besides Louis XIV in like codifying and like standardizing ballet and making it like this huge like pivotal central piece of culture that we know today that we all love and respect. So in addition to Beauchamp, there was Pierre Baptiste Lully.
Yes.
Wait, he's not Pierre, is he?
Is he?
No, he's
Probably.
a Jean. He's a Jean Baptiste Lully.
Yeah.
So spelled Lully, if you're an American. Jean Baptiste Lully is a hilarious character. So if I could just, I'll quickly, his bio is fantastic.
Yeah, tell us.
He's born a nobody in Italy, learned guitar from a monk.
He's like you!
At age 14, during Carnival, like in Florence, he's like playing guitar and like hitting on babes and everything. And then some French nobleman who's visiting Italy for like Florence for Carnival sees him and is like, hey, my like daughter needs someone to converse Italian with. She's learning.
Duolingo.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Do you want to do Duolingo with her? Do you want to move to France, to Paris with me? And he's like, yeah, I'm the son of a miller. It sucks here. So Lully moves to France, speaks Italian with this guy's daughter. From that guy's court musicians, he like learns even more music and how to compose and play piano and learns to dance and do ballet. And then the Fronde is starting up around this time. The French, like all these French like mini revolutions. So at some point, this like nobleman falls out of favor and he has to move to the countryside. He's like exiled from Paris. Yeah. And Lully is like, please don't make me move. to like the Boondocks and asked if he can like stop being the guy's servant, and the guy liked him so much he was like, all right. So Lully gets to stay in Paris. He becomes a like famous dancer composer, and he performs in a number of ballets with Louis XIV.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, he was just 3 years younger, so I think he became almost like a little brother figure to him.
That's so cool.
So Lully, in addition to like being a great ballet dancer, is an excellent musician, and so he actually then started composing once he retired from ballet. And so at age 29, Louis XIV appoints him to be the headmaster of like all court music in France. So it's like there's no equivalent position.
Okay. So before you told me he was like
Yeah.
super gay, so I want to spill the tea, honey.
He's not super gay, but Louis XIV, I guess apparently like
He's too gay for Louis.
he might have been bi. I don't know if he had children or not, but he definitely had a number of like homosexual lovers. And Louis XIV, I guess because I don't know, very like Catholic or whatever, was like not cool with it.
Not cool, bro. Not cool.
At some point, like they were still bros, but like at some point he was like, okay, it's too much. You are having gay sex all over Versailles. You cannot perform your opera. It's too much.
It's too, yeah, you can either one or the other in that mouth of yours.
He punished him.
Yeah, which is funny because Louis XIV, you would think, the fashion.
Yeah, the fashion ballet champion.
The calves, the shoe, the Louboutins, you would think.
The portraits, the big
he was pretty straight.
Yeah.
Well,
He was pretty straight and narrow.
It's probably because he had all these like these butt issues.
He was
like, no one can go back there.
You just think he had, yeah. You think he, was very gay, but he was just French.
He was just true. He just
He's
like
actually
baguettes.
like a disappointingly straight Frenchman.
Yeah. I love baguettes and wigs and fancy chips.
So Lully, his death is amazing. He died. He was conducting a ballet to celebrate Louis successfully undergoing surgery.
Probably on his butt. Probably butt surgery.
He had a lot of ailments. I don't know. Yeah.
It's probably butt surgery.
Whatever the doctors were doing.
Which is, no one survived surgery, so that's like a celebration.
Oh, because back then, like doctors got a hold of you, you would live for 2-3 years. They'd just kill you with leeches and bloodletting. So Louis survives the surgeons, who were also probably barbers.
Give him a haircut.
At the time, give him a haircut and perform.
Let's do a ballet Let's do a 12-hour ballet.
They had a ballet to celebrate. The ballets by then had shortened, and I'll tell you why in a minute.
Only 5 hours.
But
okay, good.
While conducting the ballet, Lully stabbed himself in the foot with his. I guess he had a big conducting cane for some reason instead of like the little baton. He like stabs himself in the foot, and it got infected because no antibiotics. Because it's the 1667 when this happens, and then they were like they knew about gangrene from like war injuries and stuff. So they're like, oh, like your foot's infected. Like we have to like amputate it. He refused to have his foot amputated because he wouldn't be able to dance anymore.
That would have been me. I would be like, I'll turn into a zombie. That's fine.
Yeah, so then the gangrene spread to his brain and he died like 6 months later.
But he died dancing.
I'm sure the doctor, and he did die dancing. I'm sure the doctors were like, yeah, but dude, you could live like another 30 years.
They're like, you could live another 30 minutes if we just cut out because you never,
No, they knew how to cauterize wounds.
Louis, I think, died of some kind of gangrene situation too, but I think it was from surgery.
Oh, he was like 72 though, which is like well beyond your life expectancy.
Yeah.
In the 1600s.
He was really he wasn't treating his body too well. But he didn't know that. He thought he was treating it okay, but
they didn't have paleo diets back then.
I mean, he kind of ate like a paleo diet-ish, but like he just ate like so much like crazy.
He had a lot of sweets too, though.
Yeah, true.
There was no GNC, so he didn't get supplements.
Yeah, someone was like I was listening to some podcast about him. And they were like listing all the like foods that he would eat a
his,
meal.
His
and
Weight
then,
Watchers tracker.
Yeah, his points or whatever. And then he was like, he would finish with like a couple hard boiled eggs, and I was like, oh god, like that's just, I was like, that was no, like who's like eats like everything and dessert and whatever, and is like, you know what? Bring on the hard boiled eggs. Like that's so gross to me.
I guess that was the thing. Like finish up with some eggs.
Okay, so
wait, one more character. Sorry.
Yeah.
Then you can go into all the ballets.
Well, I'm gonna go into more characters that because we have to get from like the 1680s to like right meow.
Okay,
and
I got one more
there's a lot
guy
of
to fill
characters.
in.
Okay,
One more character. Moliere. Moliere is the original. French pronunciation. I think that's right. M-O-L.
Moliere.
Moliere. Okay. Moliere is your last founding father of ballet.
Mount Washington.
Moliere is the like Seth Rogen, Judd Apatow of his time.
Yeah.
So he was a comedic playwright, and then also like worked in ballet and like became like Louis' like favorite playwright, and then he was commissioned to write both a ballet. Oh, and he introduced the idea. He became good friends with Lully and Beauchamp, and so Beauchamp would be like, "Hey, we've got this ballet. Can you write me some dialogue for the between scenes?" And he would, and Moliere would like write this like hilarious dialogue, and then they'd go back to dancing.
The between scenes,
the interludes, and so like that was very popular, and I think the dancers liked it because they could at least not just dance for 13 hours. And then he got commissioned to write a ballet and a play together to present for like, I don't know, Louis' like day off.
His eighth egg that he ate.
And he couldn't get enough dancers or like actors to staff both, so he just put them together. And he was like, I'll make one work that's both. So that was actually the invention of musical theater.
Oh,
so
oh God, I don't like this guy.
he wrote a piece that was like half ballet, had an overarching plot, and had like dance scenes in it.
The ballet d'action.
So it was a huge success. It was only like 2.5 hours instead of 13 hours. It only had like 4 acts instead of like 15, and people really liked it. So from then on, for the next like 20 years or something, this like powerhouse trio of Moliere would like write dialogue and direct, and Beauchamp would instruct the dancers and do choreography, and Lully would be the composer. And so the three of them worked together on like like dozens of pieces throughout the years and kind of set the standard for what French ballet, or just ballet in general, and musical theater to follow was going to be.
So that's like bringing ballet from the courts to the stage, because now we're performing ballet on a stage.
That's the Baroque.
Right?
That's the Baroque.
The ballet. Baroque. If it ain't Baroque, don't fix it.
Baroque dance.
But there was the like all the wars and stuff in France, and that there was like all the like French wars were like the 30-day war and the 100-day war and the baguette war and the there were all those, right? And so they kind of like put a little halt on on theater, and a lot of these like playwrights and composers, they were like, we're not gonna do any more art right now because it's like
these decades-long wars.
Sounds also familiar, doesn't it? Yeah, they were like, it's not right for us. But then the second that like all that stuff kind of ended, they were like, all right, let's come back, like better than ever, crazier than ever.
Well, the wars were also pretty themselves structured at this time too, though. There wasn't the concept of like total war where you like go invade a city and bomb it and all that stuff that we like do, have done since the 20th century.
The
war was like, your army will go meet this other army on a battlefield, and then you'll just like run into each other.
Yeah, or like the bourgeois people will just invade the palace and like kidnap the
fair amount
queen,
of that.
and like there are a lot of really sickly like sick. I don't know. I said
monarchs.
That. Especially French. They were not doing too good. Like they were crazy and all sorts of stuff.
The diets didn't help. The inbreeding wasn't. Like,
they were
very
dying
helpful.
young.
Like,
they were paranoid. All the other Louis were like.
They all had hemophilia too.
They thought they were glass. I mean, it was terrible. So then there comes this movement at the beginning of the 19th century, like we're gonna talk about classical and romantic ballets.
Okay. So about like a little over 100 years have passed since like, Louis XIV.
Yeah.
Right. And now at least stuff is like semi-stable.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so there's this girl that I found out about, that I didn't know about, who is awesome, who I think is like my kindred ballet spirit. I think her story is so cool. Her name is Marie Taglioni.
Marie Taglioni.
And she's Italian, like me. Eusebile Taglioni. You hear the similarity.
Marie ravioli.
Ravioli, taglioni, lasagna.
Yeah, she sounds like a kind of noodle.
Yeah. Yeah, she does.
It's like a microwave pasta type dish.
So, right.
Instead of Marie Calendar.
Oh my gosh. I was just looking up her father's father's name. So she was not born a dancer at all. And
what was she?
But she was just a girl. Filipino Taglioni, who's a choreographer, and her brother Salvatore Taglioni, who was a master dancer in Naples, which is also like where my dad's side is from. Oh my god. So they were dancers, and her mother was a singer, so like she came from a very like artistic family, but she could not dance. And also she had scoliosis, which is why I really identify with her, because I had scoliosis. Also, I couldn't dance because I had no rhythm. And her
sad. Her teacher discarded her.
Yeah, her teacher was like gross. She has like a hunchback, because when you have scoliosis, like half of your back is like hunched, and so they were like, ew, disgusting, get out. And her father was like, okay, I'm gonna train her like in secret. So he trained her for 2 years, and no one heard of her for that time. And then he really worked with her on her feet, like her foot strength, and he invented some positions really that stretched her body out so that you couldn't see her hunchback. Like I think port de bras, which is like the arm circles. So yeah, lifting your arms up over your head.
This is
stretched out.
This is because the most famous ballerina of all time had a hunchback.
Yeah, and that sort of this sort of rounded rounded. It's called protraction. That like rounded position. I feel like ballerinas do it. They like bend over and they all do it like together, and you can just see their backs. That was like because of her. That position had never, or like pose had never been seen, but it really suited her. And her father also. Yeah, he taught her this very like weightless way of moving and gliding around. And I forget, there was one ballet before the one that she became famous for. I forget the name of that one, but La Sylphide, which is basically the sylph or the fairy, which I'm named after a fairy, so like another connection. That was like her big debut. Or the one that really made her famous, because she...
So were they in Italy when all this is happening? Or they lived in, like, France?
Let's see. Where did they... This was in Vienna.
At the Paris Opera.
In Vienna.
Okay.
So...
Cultural center in the early 1800s. I see. Okay.
The Italian center.
Well, Vienna's where all the cool composers live, too. So it makes sense.
So this is her mom probably... sang for that,
Oh, okay.
And this was, so there was someone who went on Pointe before her, because apparently this lady like stepped in some stage glue and that like hardened up her shoes. But Marie Taglioni is the one who really gets the credit for it, because she made it look fucking awesome. And the Pointe back then wasn't like insane. It was just sort of, I guess I imagine it like you kind of almost like that dance in that like Tom Cruise does where he's sliding around in his socks.
Okay.
Like I kind of picture it as like you slide so much that you kind of for 1 second are like up on your toe.
Okay.
Because the shoes weren't very like sturdy at
So
that
it's like
time.
risky business.
Yeah,
at the time.
risky business. The
That's what the dance
sunglasses.
was.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was exactly La Sylphide. It looked just like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're also celebrating their parents being gone for the weekend.
Yup. Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
They then hire a hooker.
And there was also the romantic tutu, which was this like long tulle. It looked like a weeping willow sort of skirt. And she had, I think it was really cute because we were looking at the costume of it. She had these, like her dad made her these little tiny, like they were about like the size of like hands, wings. Put on her
It
back.
is very cute that she had little wings.
She had little wings.
on her back.
It was so cute. But what like so people really loved that, and they loved the style, and there was that like sort of nymph style, and there was a quotation about her that said that she was the personification of Ariel. She was Ariel personified, and and she looked so weightless and effortless. It looked so effortless that people weren't even like aware how hard she worked for those 2 years to like make it look like that. She also had this rival named Fanny, and Fanny was like the personification of like the earth. Like she was much more like sensual and like, you know, she was kind of, I guess, like more modern dance.
Oh, it's a real white swan, black swan scenario.
Yeah, but I mean, Fanny wasn't as cool. We don't like her. But, you know, she's my rival.
She was naturally talented, though, right?
Yeah, but you know, yeah. Who doesn't love an underdog story?
Yeah, everybody, yeah.
But what really, really, really blew up, like even more than La Sylphide, was I think her going to like traveling to Paris and Russia. I think when she arrived at like these different opera houses, people really like fangirled, and in fact there was a performance that she did, I guess to celebrate the closing of it. There's a rumor that someone like bought her shoes and then ate them.
Nice.
This was in Russia. And she was seen to be very like virginal and chaste, and you know, though she did have a couple kids, so I guess not too virginal.
She settled down later.
Yeah,
right?
she
sense.
settled down. She also, there was a magazine called La Sylphide that she helped to edit, and it was printed on scented paper, which like, yes, queen. Like, yes. There were also La Sylphide dolls.
Taglioni Mania.
Yeah. That has a really good ring to it, right?
Well, what did she do when she retired from being like a ballerina? Did she become a teacher?
So she did become a teacher, right? It was in Russia that she like, with the eating of the shoes, the Imperial Ballet.
That's so Russian.
So she became a teacher, and I'm looking for the name of her protege, which I have in my notes, because this is it's a really crazy short story.
Okay.
That she wrote this ballet for her protege that was it was called like The Butterfly, and it was basically the story of, I think it's Sisyphus who flew too close to the sun. He's the boulder dude.
Was it Icarus?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was basically the story of Icarus, where this butterfly flies too high and its wings like burn.
Yikes.
So how crazy is this? That was the only ballet that her protege like ever danced, because she was in rehearsal for another ballet. She stood too close to a candle and her freaking tutu caught fire and she died.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, but she had already been in the ballet about Icarus.
Yeah, that Marie like wrote for her,
yeah.
Basically.
But then in her next ballet, during rehearsals,
it was like a what do you call it? Like prolific, right?
Prescient.
Prescient? Okay.
Like Michael Jackson's hair caught on fire during that like rehearsal.
But no, I mean it was like the Marie Taglioni's ballet predicted it.
Yeah. I'm just saying it also happened to Michael Jackson.
Okay, yeah. She also predicted that one. She wrote him a ballet too.
But it sounds like their tutus were real. A real fire trap.
I mean, it sounds like you shouldn't just be using candles indoors so much all the time.
They didn't have electricity.
Well, you know what?
It was the early 1800s. What are you guys doing? But this is candles all over? It's a fire hazard. Like, we can't see if we don't have those.
So this was the Romantic era, where all these romantic ballets they were like dark, they were kind of goth, and they had these
like everything romantic.
Yeah, it was like these pale, like sort of Hot Topic babes, like
just like the Romantic poets that we talked about a couple weeks ago.
And so there's another ballet from this period called Giselle, which was another famous one. Which I actually like the story of Giselle.
Yeah, the notion of just dying for true love. They're just constantly dying for true love.
I would die for you. So Giselle, she was, I guess her lover lied to her. He cheated on her or something. Mm-hmm. And so she dies. What?
Yeah.
And there are these...
As emo girls do. You'll be sorry when I'm
It's
dead.
just tombstone emoji, like, I'm dead.
She's just... Could you imagine if it was a music?
I'm, like, dead, okay? Shut up. I'm dead right now. Dead.
The vocal fry.
Dead. Yeah, exactly. From beyond the grave. So she dies.
Beyond the grave.
She dies, and then the Willis, which is, I think, where I have the Willies. I think that's where that comes from.
I'm gonna say it is.
They are a whole bunch of super emo girls who've also died from the same thing. And they're just lovers. They haunt with a vocal fry. They're just like, oh my god. Yeah.
Are you dating her instead of me?
No. How could you? So they come after Giselle and they're like, be one of us sad bitches. And
to interrupt for a minute so everyone can visualize who's listening to this. Because everything in ballet is done through dance. So they don't just do an incantation or spell. They dance her out of the grave by dancing around the grave. And then she comes away.
She comes up, but then she's like, no, I'm too beautiful to be one of you. And then she makes out with her lover. Like, she goes, finds him, and he's like, babe, I'm sorry. I did not mean to kill you. And she's like, it's okay. I just don't want to, be an ugly zombie. And he's like, let's make out. And she's like, okay. And then they do.
But the Willis are trying to kill you now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so she saves him from the
She saves him, and I think she saves herself because, love's true kiss. But I'm like, he freaking killed you.
So she doesn't become a Willis.
I actually love that story.
She doesn't become a Valley girl. Yeah. She escapes.
She escapes the Willis.
She moves back to New York City instead of having to live in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Wow, we should really write a movie adaptation of Giselle.
Dance. Here we go. Yeah. What would it be called? What would the name... Well, what would the Giselle name be now?
Giselle's just her name, right? It's still...
Janelle!
Oh, no.
It would be called Janelle. Like Janelle Monáe.
I know.
Oh, it would be so good. Yeah, with the music of Janelle Monáe that's on Pink.
Good. Yeah, Tightrope. She's got some jams.
Okay, it's happening.
Okay.
It is happening. So let's
Janelle Monáe, if you're watching this podcast, we have a pitch for you.
Yep. Let's go to Coppelia. Coppelia! Another ballet from this time.
I know.
Yeah. Actually, one of the last ones from this time.
Oh, you're tying it together because we did see Janelle Monáe.
We saw
the restaurant Coppelia. But there also is a ballet.
And one of the last ballets of the romantic ballets is Coppelia. What a coincidence. Which is about people were obsessed with machines and stuff. So it was it's basically like Pinocchio, but with a hot Pinocchio. Yeah.
What's that? The movie that came out, the Real Doll movie?
Yeah.
Lars and the Real Girl.
Yeah, that's basically.
This movie? A guy falls in love with a sex doll.
That he made too, which is gross.
No, Lars and the Real Girl, he just orders the sex doll.
I mean, he made Coppelia. His name is Dr. Coppelia. It's like Frankenstein.
Well, Dr. Coppelia doesn't fall in love with the doll. It's a boy. Young Franz is a one of the
Oh,
the
Franz.
townies.
Yeah.
Franz falls in love with her and forsakes his own love, he's engaged to, and they're supposed to get married. He forsakes her and falls in love with this like robot, wind-up doll.
He's like,
And
I don't
then-
need to be home for dinner.
Well-
This doll just jerks me off the way I like it.
And then rather than like, I mean, to her credit, I guess she doesn't. His like wife or future wife to be.
She's understanding. She's like, I get it.
Yeah, this is how like much they're meant to be together. She doesn't get mad at him. She dresses up as the doll and then dances for him in a very robotic way to show him, supposedly to show him how silly it is that he's enraptured with the doll. But I think she's just like, oh, this is your kink? Why didn't you tell me?
Yeah. Oh, true. She gets one of those bullet bras. She's like, pointy robot tits.
Yeah, she gets the pointy boobs and like dances around like a robot, and she's like, "I'll just lay perfectly still."
Yeah.
You do. And you know, if that's not true love, then I don't
Yeah.
know. No, that's a romantic ballet.
Yeah. And then they adopt the Copelia doll as their baby.
Don't think they do.
They open up their relationship to
It's
it.
not
They become
not
poly.
that progressive a story. But
They become poly.
that will also be our adaptation of.
Sequel, Polly Pocket.
No, the ending. I read the summary of this this is not
Copelia.
of Copelia. Yeah, what's disappointing is that the ending is not like they don't. Oh, because the doctor who invents the doll is trying to steal the boy's soul. So like,
I love
not
it.
only does the girlfriend help him to discover and become comfortable with his kink, she keeps him from having his soul sucked out of him. But then the disappointing thing is they then like reconcile and they're going to get married. And it's not Act 3, and you're like, okay, it's the wedding, and there's this like giant group dance scene. And then the doctor shows up, and because the girl snuck into his laboratory and broke a bunch of the other robots there, he demands money. And so the girl offers to pay him her dowry.
This is the best girl. Like,
Yeah. The boy is finally, like, Franz has learned his lesson. He's like, no, my wife understands me and my kink.
yeah.
I'll pay for the damages.
good.
And then the mayor, Deus Ex Machina, is like, I'll pay for the damages.
Oh, wow.
And that's the end of the ballet.
That's cute. I like it.
I think I would have walked out of there and been like, who cares? Why is that the third act?
Like, who's gonna pay? It was probably like, it was probably like a pay your taxes.
I don't
like
even know.
hidden.
Public service announcement.
Yeah, because I think a lot of the ballets, they had these political,
We really
they
want
were
people
like,
to
someone's
respect-
gotta pay. The mayor's good. The mayor, he
People
pays
need
the
to-
taxes.
people need to respect property
It was
rights.
Cuomo. It was Cuomo.
It actually was, yeah.
It was Cuomo. He's like, actually, I'll pay.
Cuomo's that'd be the governor. but
Well,
sure.
yeah, it was the governor. It was actually, he was like,
Not de Blasio.
yeah.
De Blasio's like, I am not gonna pay.
I'm not, yeah.
I'm not gonna
Cuomo,
pay?
he's like, I'll pay. I got these nipple rings from Dr. Copelia.
Ah, nice.
That's my kink.
Cuomo's like, I've been very lonely,
I want a
Very
doll
lonely during
to
the
play.
pandemic?
I want a hug.
sir.
Can you make me a doll that hugs me?
I want to buy one of your dolls.
Yeah, and plays with my nipple rings on a Friday. That's all I ask.
Okay, so that's.
So we're gonna go to
about-
Russia. Speaking of, yeah.
Well, wait, we did miss. There's
Oh.
right. Oh no, so you're saying we're still in the classical period, right?
Well, we're going into we're ending the romantic period, and we're
Okay.
going into the
Romantic
classic.
period. And so the Russians took ballet to new heights.
They did. Oh yes, they did, because they got on like super crazy point. Because like as we know, if we look at like gymnastics, like
Yeah.
the Russian gymnasts, they're like, oh, you're strict, French people. We're gonna be even stricter.
Oh, you do ballet for 6 hours a day? That must be
Yeah,
exhausting.
we're going to do it all
that
like
training
ever,
schedule.
forever,
We're just only going to do.
forever, all the time.
Oh, wait, can you do the 5 positions?
Yes, I count as a podcast.
Okay. Oh yeah, good point.
I mean,
Oh wow, you're doing all 5 of them now.
yeah, I am. Look at that.
that.
Look at that.
2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
I mean, I can show you with my hands. I mean, it's
Amazing.
like, right? It's like the V. There's like the V, and then there's like,
Oh,
there's,
with
like,
your like
the-
feet. Yeah, your feet.
yeah,
like, turn
and then there's like
sideways.
the V a little bit separated, and the V a little bit more separated, and then there's the chevron, and then the chevron the other
the
way.
Chevron, and there's like a reverse kind of thing.
A reverse
Or, like-
chevron.
Yeah. It's wild. It gets crazy out there.
Gets crazy with 5, only 5.
I don't do enough
But
ballet. It'd be fun to understand it when I actually watch watch it, though.
Yeah, I
I'd be
mean,
like, that's position 3.
Position. You're like, oh, classic position
Classic
3.
three.
But you know, I have some of the terms, and I can, you know.
We'll save that for the advanced podcast, which is on our Patreon, which doesn't exist.
Right. Ooh, yes. We need a Patreon for our Patreon.
So
the Russians, they want to up on like super point, because this would really elongate the look of the foot. And
like
also the tutu. So the tutus were getting shorter and shorter to show off the leg instead of just the calf. It was like, let's see the calf a little bit more, now the knee. And now they were like the platter tutus, which are just like just straight out,
UFO,
like an umbrella, like a flattened umbrella, like an umbrella in the wind. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so these short tutus, and there were a lot of fairy tales, because the Russians love their fairy tales. So there was Marius Pepita, had the Nutcracker. You might have heard of him.
Yeah, where did the other ballets get their stories from? They just had like a playwright.
Yeah.
And, like they had a Moliere.
Yeah.
Or whatever, and so so the Russians just adopt these like classic fairy
tales. There might have been, there might have been like some romantic, like some poetry or something.
It's funny because the Russians adopted a bunch of fairy tales into ballets, and then Walt Disney adopted a bunch of Russian ballets into animated movies.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because they're fairy tales, you know? It's like
tales.
Disney loves fairy tales, the Russians love Disney. Wait, what?
Russian ballet was the original Disney, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's the Sleeping Beauty and Swan Lake. Have we heard of Swan Lake? Yes.
I know that one.
Yes. Swan Lake. Inspired by the amazing film with Natalie Portman. You know that fairy tale?
The ballet is inspired by the Natalie Portman film?
Yeah, the Natalie Portman lezzing out with Mila Kunis.
Yep. Okay.
But yeah,
and what else? Wait, you missed the most famous one.
I said the Nutcracker.
Oh, okay.
I said that was the first one. I was like, have we heard of him?
That's the only ballet I actually know. So
the Nutcracker. Yeah. The Nutcracker is like weird though. I don't know. I saw it when I was younger.
They're all really weird. Sleeping Beauty the ballet. Yeah. Weird, not like the animated movie. It's bizarre.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. And Matthew Bourne, contemporary ballet master, in his version, he made it in the Sleeping Beauty. He made like all the evil people vampires, which is so cool.
That's a cool move.
Yeah, he has the all male Swan Lake, which is super cool. Cause ladies love to go to the ballet and they love some hot gay male swans.
Yeah, that's called knowing your audience, folks.
Yep. Yeah. But classical ballet, it was to display classical technique, so point work, high extensions, precision of movement, turnout, which comes from the hips, not from the feet.
I didn't know that.
Fun
I almost
fact.
broke my ankles. I was trying to do a turnout myself.
Yeah. Wires was like, it's funny that like just how much you can turn your feet out matters, and it's like it's coming from your booty.
You're doing
that's why ballet dancers have such great butts, because it comes from the butt. It's all about the butt, just like Louis the 14th. He had butt problems. Russians had butt solutions. That's
If you remember one thing from this podcast.
Yes. So there were some.
Well, wait. We got to talk about like the Russians who like composed those like ballets, for example. Who were the famous dancers in them, etc. etc.
I didn't look. I was looking more into like the composers of this, because in Russia, I feel like you're just all supposed to look the same, and like the composers in Russian ballet get much more attention than like the ballerinas, because I feel like.
Well, Nijinsky.
Yes,
right?
So we're going to talk about the ballet russes, because, Nijinsky is really fascinating, which we'll. He's part of. Yeah, he's coming up part of the ballet russes, which sort of takes us away from.
Okay, I want to make sure we don't miss him, because I think he has a cool name.
We're gonna,
And Tchaikovsky, because I think.
Tchaikovsky.
Is very cool. What?
What
he composed?
Swan Lake.
He did Swan Lake.
the
The
Nutcracker.
Yeah, that's my boy.
Yeah, and so Pepita is the one who choreographed them.
Petipa.
But
I call him Pepita too.
Tchaikovsky, he really.
Okay.
He's really when you hear a Russian ballet and you're like, I like it. That's really good. That's Tchaikovsky, pretty much.
That is true because think of ballets whose music you know, and it's kind of those, right? It's Swan Lake and the Nutcracker.
Yeah.
I don't know that I know the music from any other ballets.
You might recognize, so in Fantasia, there's a lot of Tchaikovsky.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
There's also a lot of Stravinsky. So there's choreographer Sergei Diaghilev.
Mm-hmm.
And
know about Sergei?
He was actually trying to be a composer, but he wasn't very good at it. So he was like, "Fine, I'll be." Mm. He's like, I'll choreograph a little bit. But he kind of developed this reputation, and Stravinsky was really freaking good, but Diaghilev was more famous, so they kind of partnered up, and then there's this. So apparently Nijinsky, he kind of got bought, ballet masters would own you.
Okay.
So he got bought and sold, and he got sold to Diaghilev, and they started to work on. Well, they had come out with the Firebird, which was a real hit. The Firebird is kind of like the sexier version of the romantic ballets, because it's instead of being a woodland spirit, it's about a sexy Firebird spirit who seduces a man, and death and love ensue. Mm-hmm. Nice. And there's the dance of the Firebird where she's trying to seduce him, which I think it must have been really funny, Mm-hmm. She's like, I'm a sexy bird.
It's cool. It's a cool song. It sounds like, I know that classical tune. It sounds like the fight scene, the boss fight scene from a video game.
Yeah.
Cool song.
She's like, I'm a sexy. There's a lot of sexy birds. Because Swan Lake, yeah. We're after.
I mean, that's a good idea. If you've got a dance production, let them play birds, and everyone's going to be like, oh, they're so graceful, and they have long legs.
Yeah.
Like birds. And, okay.
Well,
look at them fly around the stage.
So you want to...
You put feathers on them?
Yeah. Well...
Easy.
Do you want to talk about Swan Lake for a moment before we go into the Rite of Spring? Because it kind of came before.
Yeah, good point. All right, we'll talk a little bit about
Swan I know.
So
little
just
teaser.
The plot?
Yeah. So there's
Give me the quick plot summary of Swan Lake.
There's Odette, and she is a beautiful swan maiden who's been transformed into the Swan Maiden instead of just a maiden by...
She was a maiden.
She was a maiden.
Now she's a Swan Maiden.
Yeah.
Because there's an evil sorcerer
named Rothbart.
Rothbart.
And he has a daughter named Odile, which I'm like, yeah, really similar names.
Yeah.
And she swims around in a lake of her own tears, which I'm like, yes, pageantry, yes, camp. Yes, drama. We love it. And there's this prince. I don't remember or know if he has a name. He's the prince, right? So
Daniel.
Prince Daniel. He comes to the lake of tears, and he sees. Sometimes she's allowed to be a woman, right?
She spends her days as a swan. At night, she's a woman.
Yeah.
So at night, I think she gets to go into town and run errands or whatever, buy bread for herself to eat during the day. So at night, she meets the prince, and he's like, "Oh my god, your swan-like movements."
Yeah. And she and he's like, "I think I'm gonna marry you." And she, in her brain, she's like, in her swan brain, she's like, "Oh, sweet," because if only true love, which marriage is equal to true love, I guess, and all these, right?
Yeah.
Because he's like, "We're gonna get married," and she's like, "Sweet." We gotta do this at night though, because I'm kind of like a swan during
To be
the day.
fair, it's a fairy tale. The Russians didn't actually believe any of this shit when it came out. But they were like, okay, it's a fairy tale.
And a lot of the movements, cause the Swan Maiden has Swan Maidens, and they have these very bird arm port de bras movements. Thanks, Marie Taglioni. Right? They have these very Can you play a little bit of that? The Swan Lake?
The Swan Lake remix
Yeah,
that we used
yeah,
to
because you can imagine the Swan Lake movements happening.
I'm not going to play the original, so this is going to be stupid, but let me do what I can.
We can't, because we'll immediately be kicked off.
True, we don't want to get canceled by Tchaikovsky's heirs?
Yeah, from the grave.
This music at this point.
I'm
pulling on it. Give me a sec.
You know, the day of like the wedding, the night of the wedding is happening. But Rothbart has other plans. He like puts another spell. It's like has so many spells on this port, right? So you can imagine like the swan.
There's little glissandos, right?
Yeah, the wavy arms. I'm really good at wavy arms. Like, yeah. So Rothbart puts another.
That clarinet.
Yeah, sexy clarinet. Oh yeah, it would blow people's minds.
That's EDM remix. It's stupid. Sorry guys. I'm sorry, Tchaikovsky's Ghost.
Yeah, he likes it. He's waving his arms.
Yeah, I'm sure he's down
dancing.
Okay, so
Rothbart was another spell.
He's like, guess what? You're a Swan and Knight now. You can't get involved and get married.
What?
Yeah,
what a dick.
Like, God damn it.
And he goes, all right, daughter, hot, dark, doppelganger daughter.
Who is a black swan.
Yeah, which is like
the most different looking swan.
Yeah,
from
but
the original Swan.
You know what? Prince Daniel, he doesn't see color, okay? He only sees beauty.
Wait, but Ariel is in human form also during this whole dance because she goes to the wedding and the prince then marries her.
Yeah, and Odette, I think this is so sad.
So she's not actually a black swan.
No.
She's a person.
She's a black swan person.
Where's the name of the ballet come from?
Swan Lake, because it's a lake full of tears.
Okay, fair enough.
It's the lake. That's what they call it. They're like.
No, sorry, not the ballet. Where's the name of that character? Right, the character is like the black swan, and she's dressed as a black swan while dancing with the prince.
Okay, so if you're doing the ballet, then it's called Odette and Odile, I believe.
Oh, okay.
If we're gonna talk about the movie in a moment, it's black swan, white swan.
We watched part of the ballet, and I thought I was like, oh yeah, that's a black swan. She's wearing black feathers and stuff, right?
Well, yeah, but I'm saying in the script or whatever.
Okay,
the script,
that was that particular interpretation. Okay.
Oh no, she's a swan.
Yeah.
The people in the ballet never become a swan. Like they never come out wearing a swan head.
This is just like one of those movies where you're like, was it a dream the whole time, or was it real? I don't. Okay.
Yeah, well, that was the inspiration for the. Yeah. But Odette and Odile are normally played by the same person, the same ballerina, which is cool.
Okay, so Prince is gonna marry the daughter of the evil sorcerer.
Yeah, Odile.
Because
she's vile. That's how you can remember. Right?
But then what happens?
Odette is like. Well, he does marry her,
okay.
And Odette is tapping her little beak on the window, and she's like, excuse me, it's me, but I'm a swan, and he doesn't hear that, and then I guess the swan maidens come out and tell him they're like you made a terrible mistake,
you bitch,
you bitch,
you blew it,
and then he is like, oops, and then he marries Odette, and
he
then
goes to the lake and
spell.
gets chased by a herd of swans,
which is so scary, isn't it?
Which is even scarier.
That's the scariest thing ever. So we're gonna talk about the rite of spring. So
so this is the transition to, I guess, the modern period.
Well, to the neoclassical, and then we get to the neo. Just the regular, the Matrix.
So,
the Rite of Spring.
This was a big deal when it happened.
So,
why?
Because there was a riot when it was. Oh, it was performed on the day, not the year of my birthday, May 29th.
May 29th.
Yes.
I'm
accepting. I think it was 1913.
It was Russia too, or is this Vienna?
Yes,
okay.
It was Russia. So, this ballet Russes wanted to do a very, very avant-garde ballet, And Stravinsky, he grew up in pastoral Russia, and he was like, how quaint. There's farmers, and they do harvest rituals and dances, and they have cute clothes. I imagine it like he's like a dude who grew up in Arizona who's like, my people, like, he summered in Arizona, and he was like, they have funny crafts, and I want to bring that to New York.
You know what? It's actually like, it's like Zach Braff in Garden State or something.
Yeah.
It's like a guy who became a famous like actor, and he's like, I'll do like a movie about like my hometown people.
Yeah. I want to remind people of their roots, I want to blend in with the wallpaper. And so he had Nijinsky, who was very talented but literally crazy choreographer. Like this was like his last couple years before he was diagnosed with schizophrenia.
Nijinsky's super talented.
Troubled
ballerina as well, but
yeah,
diagnosed with schizophrenia and spent 30 years in mental institutions.
Yeah, but which is why the Rite of Spring, it was like very hard to get the choreography, because Nijinsky did have crazy journals, but he never wrote down the choreography in any of them. So it was really, they had to hire like a ballet forensics team to like Law and Order that shit when they wanted to redo it.
Oh wow.
So he told all the dancers to dance with their toes like turned in. He was like, basically, whatever you do, it's like opposite day normally. He's like, you're up on point, you're flat-footed, you're on your heels. Your toes are turned out, now they're super turned in. Your arms are up, your arms are down. You get it, right? Mm-hmm. So they all kind of looked like Playmobil, creatures. That's how I, just kind of like Playmobil robot creatures. Like the Legos.
Are very stumpy.
Lego guy. They were like Lego guys. Exactly. You went right into the position. Arms turned in.
That is what they look like.
Yeah, that's exactly what they look like.
Right.
Lego.
And they had their
the Lego
hands
movie.
Cupped.
Probably. Well, yeah. I'll tell you some of the funny like catcall comment, because there was like heckles, and people were
because we were like, I came for ballet, and they're all doing the opposite thing. This is bullshit.
Yeah, and the music too was very like it. It started out with a single bassoon, mm-hmm. and it was played at this very, very like eerie, almost out of range, pitch. Mm-hmm. And apparently someone in the audience was this famous critic was like, what is that? And he goes to his friend. He's like, what the hell is that? What are those? And his friend said, oh, it's a bassoon. And he said, if that's a bassoon, then I'm a baboon. Turns out that man was a baboon. That's another story for another day.
In Russian, it probably doesn't even rhyme.
Yeah.
When
right?
he was saying that in Russian, it was just like, yeah, it happens to rhyme in English. It's much funnier.
Right? He's like, I'm saying this in English for when it's retold. And so, this was an audience of half, let's see, half of it was like millennials who were like, I want to see the craziest thing ever on TikTok ever, right?
Okay,
so like half of
they
them,
were really cool with it.
They were pissed because they felt like they were being out TikToked by the ballet.
They're being mocked.
Yeah, they're
tick mocked.
Tick mocked. They were like, is this making fun of us? Because the ballet was basically like, it was a bunch of like soft girls, but like soft girls to the extreme, and they were like, oh my God, they have so many Nalgene bottles. I only have one.
The plot of the ballet though is there's like a whole dance sacrifice ceremony.
Yeah, it's a town of villagers, and there's
they have their harvest ceremony.
Virgin that's picked. And she's the chosen one, and then she has to dance herself to death.
Yeah, it's Midsummer.
Exactly. It is the plot of Midsummer.
Okay.
And this is so that the seasons will change. And it's these very tribal, dances with very tribal clothes, a lot of like it's basically like Native American vibes, first people appropriating, some might. That's why the millennials, right? They're like, is that woman a pastoral Russian? She's canceled.
That might have been part of it, I guess.
Right?
They're like,
They're like,
just
you're
stole
a-
this from the peasants.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
rude.
So they
Yeah.
get pissed because of, that. And then, like, there's a bunch of sort of, I don't know, what would you call them? Like, what's the generation? Like the
What, the
our-
bourgeois?
No, like our parents' generation. What would that be? Like the boomers. The rest of the audience is like boomers, and they're like, we came to look up. The men are like, we came to see legs with our women,
Like
with our
boomers in
wives.
the early 1900s.
Yeah, they're like,
maybe,
we came to see some pussy under a platter tutu, served on a platter, and there's long pants. What the hell? We want our,
Well,
our
they were
fairy
like,
tales.
They were like, when I grew up, like Maria
Taglioni.
Taglioni. I want some Taglioni. What is this shit?
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
I think is that they wanted skin because, like, they the ballet was like a place where you could go with your wife and you're like, we're watching a fairy tale, but also
got it.
also
I see.
some bodies.
But instead, they're all wearing like bear skins.
They're all wearing like yeah, exactly. And so people start getting pissed. They start doing a move where it looks like the dancer's ear is like stuck to their, like trying to get water out of their ear, and there's this like booming, like there's just like, da-da. It sounds like, Jaws. It's like the Jaws themes. It's like da-da, da-da, and they're like trying to get the water out of their ear, and somebody goes, they're like, get them to an ear doctor.
Nice. Good heads
Yeah.
up.
And then people start throwing shit, and there's like the police were called. It's crazy.
One thing I do like about the Rite of Spring Ballet though is you watch it and the music is like very synced to the dance.
Yeah.
It actually feels like a music video when you watch it.
Because of Nijinsky's amazing choreography, the dancers couldn't hear the music. Like they really couldn't hear the music, and it had like crazy beats that were.
Why couldn't they hear it?
Well, because people were screaming. They were like, "Fuck you!" However you say that in
I
Russian.
saw I think a modern performance of it
Yeah.
where people weren't screaming.
So, but this is so cool. So Nijinsky had to call out the choreography, and Stravinsky had instructed that he was like, no matter what, never stop playing. Like, I don't care if
To
the
the
buildings
orchestra.
were. Yeah, he was like, you keep fucking
Yeah.
playing that shit. And so like they're playing, and then Diaghilev is legit holding Nijinsky's ankles and dangling him down so he can like call. He's like 5, 6, 7. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So that's what I was like.
That's how
Isn't
they
that
got through the
crazy?
first performance.
They're like because I think they had a feeling that was like shit was gonna go down. So they were like, okay, no matter what.
Right, guys, don't be worried. We got some very negative reviews that are coming.
Yeah,
in
but
for
people,
previews,
people
but
were
we're
down
still
with it
opening the
though.
house.
And it was performed, I think, like 6 times more.
I was
after
gonna
that.
say that you watch like the Nutcracker or a lot of these like romantic era ballets, and like they're like gorgeous and like very fun to watch, and like the choreography very much matches the music, but it's not synced to it like a music video
Yeah.
is synced, where they're like right on the beat hitting the notes and doing like a almost physical expression of what the like melody is
it
doing.
was like the first
It's-
ballet with like a bass like a drum like like a
They had bassoons. I mean, there's.
yeah, but bassoon was never given a solo before
I'm not
that.
saying to knock like Tchaikovsky or whatever. Like those are like gorgeous like orchestral pieces, but the dancers are doing very much sort of like it's a little ambient in the sense like they're on a beat, but like there isn't like a really clear beat underlying.
But this is
anyway,
like a
but
tribal, it
Yeah.
was, the beat was
cool
the
thing
thing.
with the Rite of Spring is they're like chir, chir,
Also,
and they're just like
yeah, so I think Jaws was maybe inspired by this, but also I know for a fact that I forget which planet it is in Star Wars, but the music they play, it might be like Tatooine or something, I don't know, that they play when they go to that planet is straight out of the Rite of Spring, like 100% from that, like whoever made it for Star Wars was like, yeah, that's where I got it. Like,
oh nice. It's not John Williams, is it?
I don't know.
It might be John.
I don't know.
Williams.
I don't
Might be
know.
early John
I didn't
Williams.
research Star Wars today.
Okay.
Not on
Well,
this day.
Let's keep it moving. We'll get to
Yeah. So then I think after Nijinsky started like losing his shit, the Ballet Russes disbanded, but the ballet dancers were like, we really like having consistent work, so they kind of went all over, and they were known throughout the world, so they sort of all split off. So George Balanchine, who's a Russian, he emerged from this. And he immigrated to America. And he was the first person to come up with the plotless ballet. Which, yeah, I'm like, thank you, Balanchine.
To be fair, I mean, he really was just undiscovering what Moliere came up with.
Exactly.
Like 300 years earlier. Which was the idea of putting a plot to your ballet.
Yeah, he was like a plotless ballet. But he just, he has the costumes are very beautiful. I think he has, the jewels, which was one of his, which is just like, he's like, now the dance of the emeralds. It's like, he kind of is biting off of the Nutcracker instead of the Sugar Plum Fairy. He's like, the emeralds, the diamonds,
The jewels is great, though. It's just...
Yeah. And there's, like, a woman wearing a beautiful emerald, like, outfit, and she's dancing, and she's
it's a lot like our own...
fantasy.
Some of our performances in, like, Secret Circus. It's like a plotless ballet.
We took plotless ballets and turned them into plotful ballets. So it would be...
There's no, like, character, we don't have a plot. We do, like, a thing.
True.
We have characters.
There's not a plot. Yeah. This is true.
Or like Street Meet Burlesque.
Oh, there we go.
Example.
That's a better.
Now that's a plotless show. It is a comedy, though.
Yeah, I'm looking to see.
But yeah, we're not trying to program an arc necessarily.
An arc, a story arc. So there's also modern dance. Which
so post Balanchine, it's right. A bunch of Russian immigrants came to America,
and there's the American Ballet Theater.
The American Ballet Theater,
and it's cool.
In New York.
In New York, woo! And Alvin Ailey, I believe, comes out of that, and he puts a lot of his ballets to, the music. What?
He died recently.
He did, yeah. He put He died on December 1st of AIDS.
Okay.
But I don't think was it recently?
Oh, okay.
Not sure. No, because this was like 1913
or
something. Wait. Oh, I don't know. Oh, we're going into the part where my brain freezes because all the dates are swirling around. So maybe you can fact check.
I'm gonna check it. Continue talking about that style of Alvin Ailey, though. Yeah,
Ailey. The music of his ballets is a lot about the struggle and the perseverance of Black Americans or just people in general, and he has a lot of music like blues. The ballets have like a lot of influences in music of like the blues and
yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. He died in '89.
Yeah,
I guess I just recently saw something about like the anniversary of his death
because was December 1st, which I remember because that's World AIDS Day, and that's So I don't think because of him, but
he has a gorgeous building though.
Yeah, he does.
Like
the
theater,
Ailey,
his studio. Yeah.
And then there's also some contemporary dancers.
Yeah, Kate Weir Group.
Yep.
It's like a local New York group.
There's Isadora Duncan, who's considered like the mother of contemporary modern dance.
The famous Isadora Duncan.
And so we all know, I know that if Anne is still listening, my mom, shout out, love you. She loves the way she loves Isadora Duncan. It's her favorite Halloween costume. Because Isadora Duncan she died tragically when her scarf caught in the wheel of her car I think it was like a
very
pretty
long,
sweet convertible.
Yeah, just a very long scarf.
Because that's what she wore. It's probably the only thing she was wearing.
Yeah.
Because she liked these long flowing robes. I did a ton of research on her, and I have to say, she's kind of cringy to me. Like, I mean, I'm like, hats off, because you invented your own style of dance. When she was like 10 years old, she would take the children from the neighborhood and she would teach them how to do her style of dance. And she'd go around and she'd be like, do you want to know my dance? Like, know my dance, do my dance. And a lot of people were like, what the hell are you doing? Like, this is not ballet. Like, get out of here. She was just like kind of grifting around.
Do you know where she grew up?
Do you? Did you just
No,
look that up?
I'm actually just curious. Like,
California.
What neighborhood? Oh, California makes
Yeah,
sense.
she grew up in
Some
a
neighborhood in
poor neighborhood in California.
Okay, this girl just walk around
Like not Compton, but like.
I'm going to teach your children modern dance.
Yeah, and she had this sort of abandoned like shack that she called it like her dance academy, and she would like teach people there, and her mother and sister and like kind of brother sometimes were very much behind this. They were just like, sure, we'll support our crazy ass like, daughter. Her mother had become divorced at like a very young age, and Isadora said she would never marry, but she did end up marrying later. And yeah, she wanted to. The style of dance was like to connect people with the style of like the ancient Greeks. Mm-hmm. And she eventually did.
Did she study the style of dance of the ancient Greeks?
She did. She read a lot about it.
Okay.
And I guess, she might have read about the Rite of Spring because she's like, we need to get more like tribal and earthy. And her dance was done with like a very sheer robe, like nothing else. And it was very like Earth Mother, And she did eventually get not famous. She was always kind of like poor, I feel like.
Yeah, she was very influential, but not necessarily
famous.
It
was that she was very into teaching dance, and so all these dance schools had sprung up, and that's how she kind of continued. But this is the most cringy thing, that at one point she goes to Athens because like she keeps going on these tours with her mom and her sister, and they're like we're over here now, and then like something goes bad, like some dude like
you run out of town.
Yeah, like something dancing. Like they get poor, like someone doesn't understand, or like some dude is like mean to her, or like something, and she gets sick. Who knows? So then they're like, let's go to Greece. Where else?
Locals. Yeah.
They go to Greece, where everyone is like, we really want to like show you our ruins, and like we love you because you're awesome, and you're like trying to do the dance of our people. But her and her family built their own little temple that they were living in to the ancient like Greek gods, and they were like, they didn't want to like interact with the locals, which I'm like, okay, so California.
They refused to go to the Parthenon. They're like, we have our own.
They're like, cool. We're appropriating you in your own backyard, and we don't want to talk to you.
Yeah. If the Greeks would like to talk to us about
our gods, our temple, then
the
doors open, and so are our hearts.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's which I'm like, she had like the audacity.
Despite that, still, yeah, I guess just taught a lot of people, and eventually kind of faked it till she maked it.
Well, she didn't ever really make it. She kind of always had money trouble, and she had a sad love life, and I think her freaking kids, she had like 2 kids, and they died like super tragically, like, and she never thought that she would dance again, and then this other dancer was like, tell me of your sorrow and do a dance about it, and then she moved on. Her kids like freaking like crashed were in a car with their nanny, and they like drove off a ravine and just like tragically instantly died.
Wow.
Yeah,
a lot of car accidents. Yikes. Gotta wear a seatbelt, guys.
Yeah. I mean, driving over a ravine, and,
I think everyone was just driving drunk back then, too. So it was, like, not a big deal.
But the way that I think her last words were, because she got in this it was, like, a souped-up, like, convertible.
Yeah.
And I think she just met a dude with a convertible, and she's like, ooh, take me in the convertible. And she said, au revoir, my friends, like, because she was living in Paris, and she was pretending she was a little Parisian.
In Paris. Okay.
Parisian bitch at that point, and she had a little scarf on.
Well, not little. Clearly a long...
big scarf on.
This scarf wouldn't reach the wheels of a convertible.
Yeah.
But, like, very long
It got caught in the wheels.
Yeah. I think inspired I don't know if you've seen the movie The Incredibles.
Yeah, I think so, too. So
there's the mad scientist, or the scientist inventor, who's like, no capes.
Yep.
They show a little montage of superheroes with capes getting sucked into jet engines.
Yeah, that's her. That's our girl. Kind of her. There's also Martha Graham and...
Yeah? Tell me about the Graham School of Dance.
I mean, we know a Graham dancer.
We do know a Graham dancer.
And she might be dancing with us this weekend, if we're lucky. If we pray to the Greek gods. Mm-hmm. The Greek goddess Medea. Graham it's interesting because modern dance is supposed to be very freeing, no rules, but apparently Graham, there's a lot of rules for the not rules.
Yeah, there's a structure to it, I suppose.
And it's very strict. And our Graham
style.
friend was like, it was hard, and she was very. Some teachers, I think, were abusive to her, like psychologically, and then she had one teacher who gave her the part of Medea, and just like mentored her and like took care of her and like a teacher should, and she took on that name. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh hey Ian, what's up?
I was reading
we talking about ballet?
Recent New York Times article about like dancers actually during the pandemic. So now we're in the like present day or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Right, because all the ballets have been like, canceled or whatever.
But you know which one hasn't been canceled?
We'll get to it. We'll do our
ballet that's in your heart.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say rave review this Saturday.
True, that one hasn't been canceled either. But it's never been canceled.
Okay.
Honey, that ballet has never been canceled.
I was just going to say, in this New York Times article about the dancers on their own, like, many of them are like...
the Robin song.
What?
Dancing.
Yeah, dancing on their own.
Yeah.
Many of these dances. I'm in my house now. Why can't you see me?
Todrick, we need this.
Todrick Hall parody. Yeah. They were saying both that like because it's a little like as good as Zoom is, you can't do a ballet together on Zoom. Like you can do readings or something and actors are doing stuff, but like it doesn't work for like dance companies. So there's a mix of like you at least can dance with like a mask on. So some like meeting in person, but also that the dancers feel that they are like, I guess, more coming into their own, and that some of the dance schools, I guess we'll see. It's like in this era, they're talking about like making weight and like some of the dancers being like really unhealthy to like make weight. It's some like they specifically called out this Miami like dance company, I guess, for being really toxic.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy because I feel like Miami, they're like wear some mesh.
Yeah, because Miami's like.
We saw what they were wearing in Miami. We went to Miami.
Yeah,
famously this quarantine.
The body type of the Miami babes. Yeah. I think they'd be fine with it. But anyway, this dancer felt that they were very strict, and so felt that there's been a movement now with the dancers. I don't know, during the quarantine or whatever.
Yeah, the Zoom dance. It's gonna be all the swan maidens, just like it's gonna be like the Willies.
The Willis?
The Willies. They're just like revolting. They're like all the quarantine ballet babes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need more good parody ballets.
like Black Swan, my favorite movie.
Oh yes.
Should we talk about a little tiny bit about Black Swan?
Yeah, I guess we'll
end it out with Black Swan.
We'll end it out
a plug for our ballet rave.
A movie about ballet. There aren't too many movies about ballet.
Not good ones. There's what do you call it?
I was looking for tracks for rave review, and there's like so few songs, except that one song by Ballerina.
Right, Ballerina.
There's like almost no songs about ballet or ballerinas, which I guess people would be like, well, it's not a classical song, so I'm not going to do that. But still.
Oh my gosh, but
so many songs about dancing, no songs about classical ballet.
There's Save the Last Dance though.
Oh yeah, there's
Mekhi Phifer and Julia
since,
Stiles.
The 80s, there's all these movies about like a ballet dancer who learns how to
do hip hop,
how to do hip hop, or street dance.
Yeah, street. Yeah, it's like I dance circles around you. Yeah, and then who else is in that movie? There's like a bunch of like great cameos in that movie.
Oh.
But it's kind of like it would never work today because it's like a white girl infiltrating like the much cooler black school and like taking the dude.
Ballerina gone rogue is what Ian says. That's a way to put it.
Yeah, the ballerina gone rogue. She's dancing all over the place. So black.
They do, but they use their classical techniques. So then like out of nowhere they're just like boom on point.
Yeah, and then everyone's like, oh, she got you. You can't do that.
You can't do that.
But I feel like you
spinning
can
super fast.
in those thick Those thick,
What?
like,
And,
skateboarding
like-
shoes.
like-
I feel
oh,
like
like
you can
sneakers?
go on Pointe. Like, that's something you can definitely... There should be, like, a skateboarding versus ballet movie.
Okay.
Because
Alright.
those, like, really heavy skateboarding shoes. I
Ballerina
definitely, like,
skateboard.
had those, and you can, like, definitely just walk around on your toes all day.
I'm surprised more breakdancers don't work out. Like, they could just throw out, like, an on point, and people would be like, oh, shit. What the
Yeah,
fuck?
they can throw it in on
They
Pointe.
just throw out, like, they just hop on point real quick, and then, like...
They're like, I dance on my head,
just-
probably
just
around
throw
you.
out-
They're
throw out
like,
these moves.
they're
Yeah.
like breakdancer gone ballet.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I'm looking forward to
But
seeing
yeah,
it.
Black Swan, greatest lesbian Darren Aronofsky
You just
movie.
did you want to just summarize the movie, or just we assume everybody has seen it, or what?
Yeah, let's see. Quick summary. Natalie Portman is a virginal white swan. She
Yeah.
really wants the
She's
role
like
of the
a
Black
Maria-
Swan
Maria
too.
Taglioni or whatever. She's virginal. She's not
Yeah.
hunchback though.
She's got a weird thing going on
She's
with
a
her
good girl.
mom.
Yeah, she got a very controlling mom.
Very controlling.
Darren Aronofsky's movies are mostly about people's moms and issues with them.
Yeah, someone's got mommy issues. Freud would have a field day with him.
It's like that horror director who has like sister issues.
Oh, the Midsummer dude.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, who hates his brother and sister in every movie.
So anyway, it's about world fantasy.
Yes.
So yeah, she wants to be she wants to be like the prima ballerina.
She wants to be the Black Swan too, and
Winona
her
Ryder is retiring as the older ballerina.
yeah, but
So she's gonna take her place, and she wants to become.
wait, no. Okay,
the
you
lead
haven't.
ballerina.
Spoiler alert! I feel like you haven't seen Black Swan all the way through.
Wait, I'm explaining it to you.
So no,
What
no,
did I
oh,
miss?
she's gonna take Winona's place.
Yeah.
I thought you were like Winona's gonna take her.
No.
No.
it's
So
not.
important thing, like smarmy ballet director who you are portraying
That's actually
right
who
now.
I am playing
Yeah.
this evening. Is the smart?
Do the clap. Do the clap that they like. Yeah, exactly.
Maestro.
Yeah,
Now let me see your black swan.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you
me see
clapped
how
so
that's
hard the Instagram paused.
It was a matter of just the white swan. You would have the pot.
Yeah, but
It's not.
You have
it's not
to
that simple.
Show me a black swan.
Black swan.
And she's like, and she tries. She's like, oh, black swan, but it's not bad enough. She's not a
"Look at me,
baddie."
I'm an O'Dial. I'm s- dirty.
Yeah, she can't.
Dirty swan maiden.
He's like, you're too perfect. You need to mess it up a little bit.
Okay.
And she tries to seduce him. She's like, look,
She
wear
wears
red
lipstick.
lipstick. I'm gonna come in your office. I'm gonna be a slut. And
Bites his lip. Does Molly. Goes
well, that's
clubbing
late.
in New York
Yeah,
City.
that's later.
I'm
That
trying
happened.
to.
Yeah.
I'm trying to condense
Yeah.
the plot.
She has Molly,
Makes
but
sense.
she like knows she's being drugged by Mila Kunis, but like doesn't do anything about it. She like sees Mila Kunis drugging her, and she's like, "Cool, sweet. I'm gonna get my black swan on."
I think a lot of people are actually like that.
Yeah.
You know, like, you're like, all right, I'll go for it.
I'll
sure.
go for your
You know, like,
ride.
you could have just asked me, but yeah, also I'll take the
Yeah.
dog drink that you're making me.
Yeah, that's if you drink a drink and you've seen someone put a drug in it, you've consented. That's,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's physical consent.
Yeah, sorry. Physical consent. It's called.
Physical consent.
Um,
The mother also gets. It's very weird. Brushes her hair. Also gives her drugs. She's like, take some of mommy's pills tonight. Yeah, it's there's also a lot of grooming gone rogue.
That's the most cringy part of it. It's really a horror story just because there's like really disgusting.
Yeah,
like,
if you don't like watching weird toenail videos on
There's toenail
YouTube, you will
disfiguration
hate
stuff.
Black Swan.
Yeah, that's
'Cause
enough
there's-
summary right there. I suppose.
Yeah.
They can
Wait,
watch
but
those.
no, we gotta spoiler it. If they've gone this
Okay.
far, they deserve a spoiler.
All right.
Yeah.
So I mean, in the end, her descent to madness pays off. She wins big. Does the part perfectly.
She gets Black Swan and White
She gets
Swan.
Black Swan
Ding,
and White
ding,
Swan
ding.
does them both perfectly while stabbing herself in the
Yeah,
stomach.
she stabs herself in the stomach, and she goes on to like. Well, she thinks she's stabbing Mila Kunis, who's like her doppelganger, because it's also this. That's why it's a brilliant film. It's the story of doppelganger, like the German horror
Yeah.
story of someone doing your life but slightly better. Because isn't that what we're all afraid of? Someone who's a little bit prettier than us, a
That's
little bit
exactly-
badder than us,
That's exactly what the
getting all the
doppelganger
things
is.
that we want. That's the Mila Kunis, right? was on that 70s show and we wanted to be on that 70s show.
Yeah, that's Dostoevsky's The Double. That's
Yeah.
exactly the plot of it, which first introduced the horror
And
doppelganger.
The
Nice.
Winona Ryder, I feel like, is
She thinks that-
she thinks Natalie Portman's
Portman's her
the
doppelganger.
doppelganger. And she might be right because, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, Natalie Portman is like, I'm going to stab you, doppelganger. But then she ends up stabbing herself because that's what you do when you worry about someone being better than you.
You're really
And you
stabbing.
stop worrying about you being better than you. Is you stab yourself in the back stomach. In the stomach back.
You think that's the point Aronofsky was making?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yep, he told me.
Oh, I thought he was just saying if you truly do sacrifice everything for your art, you will be number one.
Oh. Yes, that as well.
Yeah, it's really like it pumps you up. It's a
But
good film to show to like sports teams before.
I just love at the end that she does it and she's bleeding, she's dying, whatever. And she's like, I felt perfect. I was perfect. Because, yeah, I have that in my head. I used to because I used to have doppelganger complex. And it really ruined performing for me for a while.
Oh no.
And I would have that after. I would be like, am I going to be perfect? Am I going to be this? And I was afraid to be Mila Kunis, only Natalie Portman. And at the end of every performance, I would be like, it was perfect. But if it wasn't, I would stab myself.
Mm.
But now I'm both, and it's great.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
This has turned out to be a really uplifting podcast, hasn't it?
I don't have a black swan costume under this to reveal, though. Unfortunately, that would have been if it was really perfect.
That would be a cool reveal.
But I don't care because I'm not trying to be perfect. But if you want to watch us both be nearly perfect, and maybe several other people.
Yes, I will do my best.
Tchaikovsky.
Yeah. Jean-Baptiste Lully.
Oh,
Because he's a composer.
That's
right?
your boy. I'll be. Yeah. Oh.
I will be playing. I will be the maestro this week.
Maestro?
This Saturday. And,
Yes.
And you will be.
I'm gonna be
Marie-
Marie Taglioni. Hey, I'm gonna be. Hey,
it's
I'm
your
a
girl,
fucking.
Marie Taglioni.
Yo, I'm the fucking self and shit. I got this long tutu. Okay, you can see my ankles.
That's great. Yeah. Marie Taglioni.
That's Marie Taglioni. Okay.
Doing pirouettes. And
Pirouettes
shit.
all over your face.
Kick my leg. I hit myself in the fucking face.
Oh yeah, you could. These
Almost, oh my God,
point
nose
shoes,
down. Yeah,
you could
almost
stick
down.
these anywhere. Over here,
Please.
over there.
Point shoes.
I'm on point, bitch. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of that for you on the lyra, in the air, right? Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to show you my black swan.
It's an Ariel ballet show.
I'm going to show you my Mila Kunis on chains.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to show you the future of ballet on pole.
Which is pole dancing.
Yeah.
Modern ballet.
Yep.
Oh, I don't want to I want to get in this little factoid about Black Swan, which I, just we're going to insert
when is this
going to
be?
Earlier.
When is this going to be?
This is going to be this Saturday at 9 p.m.
Yep. Woo! Watch it on Twitch. It's better. You can also watch it on Instagram, but it's worse.
Twitch.tv/secretloft. Natalie Portman did,
most of the point work.
80% of the dancing in it. They used the dance double for just, 2 sequences shot from far away. Yeah. And they used face replacement technology, which is creepy in a couple of the shots.
Oh, yeah, that's what they did,
But apparently the entire opening, sequence and, Natalie Portman exits on point from it was all Natalie Portman. No double.
Yes, Queen Amidala.
Yeah, I did. I remember seeing that second Star Wars and being like, "Wow,
she's on point.
This is a shit actress, and she is going nowhere."
Yeah.
Joke's on me.
Yep. So yeah, should you play us out, Maestro?
Yes, a little dancing music.
Oh yeah, and next week we'll be talking about. We'll be talking about luck and casinos.
So we get the luck of the Irish.
And the luck of casinos and people who cheat.
And casinos owned by Irishmen.
And unicorns and gold.
And unicorns and gold. Lucky things.
Lucky you. My favorite cologne. If you have a topic that you'd like to suggest, you can definitely do that for us.
Yes.
Suggest one.
No guarantees.
Yep.
But
you
never know. You might get lucky.
Yeah. I I wish I had like.
Yeah, you have to glissando your.
Oh, my arms, my porte-bras. Oh my god, I'm so white. Like, oh, I can make a swan.
Yeah, you are a very white-looking swan. You're very Marie
Yeah.
Attack it! Attack it!
Wait, I'm like, we have like feathers we can. Yeah, this is.
Yeah, Tchaikovsky just rolling in his grave. Probably.
With joy.
This is how down. We'll fade it out.
Come in here.
Oh, good evening.
Okay.